I'd like to say good evening to everybody here, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city administration, and also our home audience. We are hopefully on both channels this evening. I would like to welcome you to our March 28th City Council meeting. Tonight we have 11 items on our agenda, so we have a pretty full slate this evening, and we have quite a few people in the audience, it looks like, that's going to talk this evening. At this time, Mr. Schofield, if you would, please read the roll call of members.
Martine?
Here.
Clay?
Here.
Corcoran? Larima?
Here.
Gray?
Here.
Neal?
Here.
Patrick?
Here.
Roll?
Here.
Chapman? Here.
Okay, if everybody would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes from the previous meeting have been distributed for review. Hopefully everybody's reviewed it. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes? I do, by Mrs. Neal. Roll call on accepting the minutes. Second, I'm sorry, by Mr. Clay. Roll call on accepting the minutes, please.
Martine?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Larima?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Roll?
Yes.
Chapman? Yes.
The minutes from the previous meeting have been accepted. At this time, we have reports from our committees. Mr. Clay.
Thank you, President Arnold. City Services has one item on the agenda tonight. It's item number 1, which is up for a third reading. This is a request from the Mayor's Office to appropriate $25,000 to be used for capital purchases specifically related to ODOT and other auctions of service vehicles and equipment. We've reported on this item several weeks now, so it is up for third reading, and at the appropriate time, I do ask that council members please provide your favorable vote, and we can pass that tonight. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Next, Mrs. Patrick.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending legal litigation.
We were going to do this at the end of the session. So
Would we do it at the end of the meeting? That way we get the
Okay.
most people that want to leave the televised part of it. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Not trying to tell you how good, but that's okay.
But instead, can I give the utility?
Yes, you sure can.
I will do that then. The Utilities Committee has item number 2 on tonight's agenda. It's the third reading of an ordinance appropriating funds for the roof replacement at the water treatment plant, dome inspection and bid plans and specs for recoding and repairing 2 elevated tanks and 2 reservoirs. There are 3 components to this legislation. The first piece is to appropriate $220,000 for the roof repair. It will be a complete replacement at the water treatment plant. The second piece is to appropriate $3,760 for the assessment of the dome cover on a reservoir for condition and provide a recommended repair plan. The third item is an appropriation of $13,000 to prepare a bid package and specs for the water tank and reservoir repair and coating. The entire $236,760 is from the water fund, not the general fund, and your favorable vote would be appreciated tonight. I would also like to just make a quick comment on South Blunt Street. I want to thank the mayor for going ahead and putting up road closed signs at the Main Street intersection and down there by 7th Street. The neighbors down there got to have a nice, quiet, peaceful evening, and it was very much appreciated. Thank you. Concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Patrick. Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, President Arnold. The Community Affairs Committee has one item on tonight's agenda, agenda item number 7. This is a second reading of an agreement between the city and the county to enter into a reimbursement schedule and agreement for the costs associated with providing indigent criminal defense counsel. The money has already been appropriated through the budget process, but I will allow this to go all 3 readings. This is a very regular agreement happens annually. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Anybody else? Mr.
items number 3 and 4. First, approval of hiring full-time park enforcer, appropriating $60,000 for the second reading. Also, second reading of an amendment to increase the fee schedule of parking violation fines. That is also for second reading. Item number 9 is a first reading to appropriate $2,500 for the cost related for commencement of the Chillicothe Municipal Court Drug Court for 2016. This is a necessary tool used by the courts to combat an ongoing problem in our community and county. The $2,500 would be coming from their funds, so it would not be coming from general funds, it would be self-funded. And at the appropriate time, I will ask to waive the 3-read rule. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Florina. Next, Mr. Chapman.
Thank you, President Arnold. Engineering Committee has 4 items on the agenda tonight. Second reading on the change of the speed limit on a section of Route 50 to 45. It goes from 40 to 55, and then at Slate Mills goes to 45. So this will blend in and slow that traffic down in that one section, just a small section of Western Avenue. Also, that was item number 5 tonight. Number 6, it's also a second reading. It's to establish a small section of 300 East 2nd Street, no parking. This is an area that's adjacent to an alley and also a driveway, so this will kind of keep people from getting in trouble there. So, number 8, first reading tonight is to establish two-way traffic in an alley adjacent to Tiffin School. It's right now a one-way alley, and the buses want to come in the other way so they can pick up kids on the side of Tiffin. Also, number 10, up for first reading tonight, it's to appropriate or consenting that the proposal for ODOT to do related work at Piley's Lane and Route 50. This money will not come out of the general fund. This will be part of the grant money we receive every year. And since this has been on the works for over a year, we need to go ahead and pass this tonight, so at the appropriate time I'll ask to waive the 3-read rule. Also, bringing up Watt Street, I did some research on that. We did have a meeting, and the people down there did complain, but I found by doing my research that the Watt Street alone is actually too narrow for commercial truck traffic. And I think it's more of a safety issue than anything, but I'm sure the people down there would appreciate it if we figure out a way to keep the trucks off the Watt Street. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tapman. Any other reports? Mr. Kroll?
Finance Committee has one item on tonight's agenda. That is item number 11, which is to approve the current replacement pages to the codified ordinance. This is something we do annually, just updating all of the ordinances. So I will, at the appropriate time, ask that we waive the 3-read rule and pass that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Ms. Steele, do you have a report?
No, I just have, we did meet, and we will have legislation coming up at the next council meeting. So we did have a Parks and Rec meeting.
All right, very good. At this time, we move to the reports of our officials. Our Mayor, Mr. Meeing.
Thank you, President Arnold. To touch on some of our agenda items tonight, issue topic 1, I would also ask for your favorable vote on topic 1. I think, without rehashing the whole thing, ODOT equipment, when it becomes available for auction, is a very good option for us. We learned that last year. Greatly aided our snow removal efforts this year to have some newer equipment, and this option opens us up to some more upgrades throughout our city fleet. Issue 2, I would also ask for your favorable vote. This is long needed work done at the water plant, and is, I'm sure, our utilities director is eager to get moving on. Issue 10, which is up for first read, I would also ask for your favorable vote and your favorable waiver of the 3-read rule tonight. Essentially what this is, as Councilman Tapman mentioned, we'll be taking our issue 2 money, and this will be the fiscal ODOT's fiscal 17, which is probably our fiscal 18 project. It'll be at the intersection of Plyley's and Western there to do some widening. All we're doing here is committing to the project. We're not appropriating any money. That budget year is when the actual appropriation happens, but this is kind of the first step in that process for ODOT. And as they have been waiting some time, it would be nice to get this back to them. I'd like to take part of my time today and introduce our transit director, Mike Green, who he has with him our fleet manager, to give our transit annual report and catch council up on some of our recent happenings.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Have a copy of the report and circulate to you folks, so I'll follow along with it. Well, we've been busy at Transit. Thank you for the opportunity, Mayor Feeney, to talk to you a little bit about it. And you can follow along with me, this report is a little bit detailed, and I won't spend all the time that it would take to read it, but I do want to highlight 4 different areas here that are kind of important. And sort of, you have some history there that tells you a little bit about transit, how it got to where it was and is today. The operations of transit is going pretty smooth right now. Right now we operate fixed routes and paratransit services in the city and demand responsive services within the county routes. And we do contract some services too that extends beyond Ross County and major destinations in Ohio. We've had 16 full-time drivers and 10 part-time drivers, and we have open positions right now for 4 people. And got a couple shift leaders, transit clerk, the transit secretary, and you can read the rest there. We actually, last year, contracted over 700,000 miles. We looked at the situation at transit and made some decisions about 4 different areas. One is the investment in staff. We'll take a look at, I think, page 3. That gives you a summary of some of the things that we did last year to get our staff up to speed. It was a year of restructuring last year. As you know, Mayor appointed me in December of 2014 to lead the team over there. And we've had a pretty good time of just looking at things and restructuring it. There's only 2 management positions there, and that's myself and Mark, who I'll introduce to you in just a moment. The fleet manager and myself have been challenged with changing a complacent work environment over there, and it's existed for many, many years. And so we've been focusing on how to get those changes to take place. Asset management is a big area that we've been spending some time on. We have some capital assets, and a lot of them were funded by the Federal Transit Authority. Grant requires that we do some things that we have not done well in the past. One is the required detailed asset inventory in their black hat systems. We have to maintain a maintenance plan and allow for maintenance schedules and procedures to take place, a 4-year capital replacement plan and a disposition plan for capital assets that have reached their useful life. And so, as you know, last year with the auction, we were able to dispose of quite a number, in fact, all of the equipment that had been laying dormant over at the facility. We've cleaned up that yard considerably. Financial management and an investment in financial stability is pretty important. 2014, the organization was challenged financially and relied on additional appropriations from the council to cover that year. In 2015, last year was a year where we did a lot of review and evaluation, and resulted in establishing some financial procedures that allows us to have some tools that we can monitor, evaluate, and address issues, and it helps maintain our financial stability. We ended up last year with a cash reserve of $458,000, and that's not a small amount, but that's an amount that we were able to save money and carry over. So it was a pretty good year for us. And then in the area of administration and other successes, some of the compliance issues we had were considerable over the last 4 or 5 years, and we've been able to get in compliance with everything. We've completed a 2013 audit, and there were no additional findings. And so we have responded to all the inquiries and requests from ODOT and the FTA in terms of getting the organization up to speed. One thing that really I feel good about is that the Water Street facility is now free and clear. We had still a federal lien on that building for $200,000, and we were able to get that removed, and now that facility is in our possession to be used for other purposes. So very happy to get that done. This year, we think we're going to still see a lot of savings in our reserves. Our capital maintenance and our bus reimbursements from ODOT is at 100% this year, which means we'll be getting buses for free. That is going to save us a lot of money. Our contract revenue looks like it's going to go up over $700,000. 700,000 miles from last year when it was 500,000 miles. And so our contract revenue should be around $2 million. So we're excited about what's going on now, and we also have some current projects I want to tell you about real quick, and then I'm going to bring Mark up. But we started a Transportation Advisory Board last fall, and we asked that group of citizens and agency leaders to tell us a little bit about the issues of transportation in Chillicothe. And they gave us some suggestions, and one of them was that we amend some of our routes, which we've done, and that'll start next Monday. But in addition, they suggested, and we've been thinking about creating a seasonal express route that can support our economic development activities and our downtown development as well. And Mayor Feeney asked us to look into that, and it looks like we might possibly be able to do that. The objective is going to be to create a larger ridership and give our residents options that they might not have had before and promote transit assets. People may want to, and this is a service that we're thinking about just for the summer, maybe Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Somebody might want to go downtown and do a restaurant, or maybe pick up some folks at a hotel and go around and make some pickups and just deliver people to different spots in town, maybe even out to the paint game. So our objective there is to promote and help support the development of the downtown and make sure that people have transportation, even if they live here. I mean, a lot of people don't use our transportation services because they think that they're only for people who don't have cars. But just think about it. You might want to go out one Friday night, take your husband, wife out to dinner, and then jump on a bus and head out to the Paints game, come back home. That's a way that we can use our assets that are just sitting around and possibly increase the activity in our downtown area and support the businesses that are on the major arteries in town. So we're still seeking input about that. There's a couple of options available. We have a survey that has been distributed. Got some here. They're available at our website, and they're also available through our drivers, and they're at the depot. And if you like, we'll keep it up for another week, I think, so we can get some more input and make sure we make a good decision on that. But the options are very good, and I think you'll be pleased. I hope we can get some people interested in this, and our ridership will increase, and it'll be a good thing for our downtown businesses. Mark Matthews is with me today. Mark is our fleet manager. As I said, I was started last December. I hired Mark sometime in mid-year, and fleet manager has really changed the dynamics of what happens at Chillicothe Transit. We have a lot of vehicles, and he's done a really good job of getting them up and running and making sure that they run very well. But he'll tell you a little bit more about that. Mark, say.
Hello, my name's Mark Matthews. I was hired June 8th of last year as a transit manager, or a fleet manager rather. Prior to that, I was a maintenance supervisor for 13 years at the largest cabin manufacturer in North America. Prior to that, I spent 10 years as a store manager for nationally known automotive repair. So I have some background in automotive repair and supervising people. Just 23 years of experience. Since June 8th, I assisted with a bus pre-trip form for transit. meeting federal and ODOT standards. I work with the city service department on purchasing and repairing the newly acquired snowplows. We worked on disposal, as Mike mentioned. We disposed of 6 transit buses and other city vehicles and equipment that were beyond their useful life through GovDeals auction. I tallied $43,000 in return for that auction. We're currently looking at other items that we can dispose of that's no longer used throughout the city. Maybe we can continue working with GovDeals to get rid of the older equipment that we no longer need. Forgive me, I'm a little bit nervous. It's my first time with this many people.
You're doing fine.
You're on TV too.
Our current transit bus fleet conditions have been improved through detailed and long-lasting repairs. What I found was a lot of the repairs were short and quick and they just kept coming back. So we studied those and really got everything up and running. So far, we got everything running to date, which is good.
I think I'd just like to interject for you that also you're just not repairing transit vehicles. You also are repairing vehicles for all the departments.
Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of that is not being subcontracted out. So he's also responsible to the repairs for the fire department, for the service department, for the police department. So it's not, so there's a lot more that goes on down at that facility than just buying old buses and getting new buses.
No,
So I think a lot of people don't understand that.
And not just that, preparing the city equipment right now, we're working through all the mowers for spring. We've just about had those all ready. And then for fall equipment, like leaf blower, we'll have that prepared in the middle of the summer. So we'll be more prepared this time. We won't be caught without a leaf blower or such. So, we recognize the new buses as delivered that we just received. From my history of automotive repair, the front ends were out of the line. Brand new vehicles, bad front end alignments were eating tires off the front of them. So we contacted our bus supplier and I found a local repair facility to take the buses in at the supplier's cost and repair these front end alignments. So we could save on money on tires. I've worked with a lot of our suppliers for parts in this area. I've managed to save a lot of money with 20 to 30% off on some of the parts just by using as competitive bids for parts. Instead of just dealing with one individual, we deal with many now, and now they're becoming more competitive for us. So it's helped out. Transit has taken over. We've taken over the drug program, alcohol and drug program, for the city HR department. This was done to meet the federal and ODOT requirement standards. Our final report has been approved by ODOT for 2015. Transit director and I have recently completed a required drug and alcohol training program through ODOT. In December, myself and 3 mechanics completed a Braun wheelchair lift training, which is required by ODOT, and we're now qualified to perform repairs and maintain this equipment. I've been working with our utility staff to meet ODOT guidelines, developing various facility inspection forms and filings for future inspections and audits. We're working to implement a new fleet manager software program, and this will record all the repairs and create document history per ODOT requirements. We're working with Route Match, our new system that tracks our buses, to obtain data, and this will help us in decisions on bus pertaining to bus usage. And as far as the accounts of people, the mileage, where the buses go. The fleet is varied for mileage. We've got some we just got, but we've got some that are exceeding the mileage limits, but they still run good, so we just keep them in the fleet until we get until the replacement simple ones. So in the future, what we're looking at right now is, and we're working on hard, is the transportation or the transit department. We're striving to be more facility independent and relieve the city of mowing and snow removal services. We're currently purchasing a commercial mower that was approved I believe last year, we threw an ordinance, salt spreader, and we're working to obtain a snow blade for our truck. So we won't have to rely on the city to come down and take care of these services. We'll be all in-house with that equipment. And right now, I'm currently working on the cost of purchase and install our own alignment equipment. What I found was we only have one facility that'll do vehicles of our size, even our smallest vehicles, or as buses, that can handle that. And it's just not competitive. It's fairly expensive. Tallying the cost of what it costs for the buses to be aligned, the buses to be aligned, and all the city equipment to be aligned in this analysis. So as soon as I get all the details, the cost, and we'll bring that forward. Any questions? Well, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
Apologize for the nervousness.
You did good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Fantastic.
I really appreciate it. Mike and Mark are doing a great job down in transit. I really appreciate everything that they're doing. And as everybody knows, I'm very excited about the potential for that seasonal route. So if you haven't taken the survey yet, please do. At the risk of having my longest report ever, I've invited Captain Banfield here tonight as well to give a brief, some brief input on the impact of the parking enforcer potentially with item 3 on the police department. He's promised me that he will keep his report brief.
Very brief. Good evening. I'm Claire Dan from the Captain's Police Department. The chief isn't able to be here today, prior commitment. Parking enforcer, we've had a position for the city for many years. It went away some years ago due to budget constraints. Currently, we're using an officer, a Chillicothe police officer, to work traffic enforcement in the downtown business district only. And that is in addition to his duties as court officer and nuisance officer. It's a very, very part-time position. Since he started, it was never about writing tickets. It was simply about getting people to move and obey the ordinance within downtown. As you know, we have many businesses coming downtown. It's growing, it's becoming more vibrant, and parking is an issue. Since we've started enforcement downtown with Officer Pratt, there are open spaces that wouldn't have been there before. Adding a nuisance or a traffic officer or traffic employee back to the city would allow us to assign Pratt back to his full-time duties as court officer and nuisance. We're coming into summer. Our nuisance complaints go up considerably through the summer, and there's just not enough time today for what he does. So taking parking enforcement off his shoulders and adding it to another employee at a much cheaper rate will not only allow us to continue to enforce the ordinances within downtown, but the entire city. Because Randy doesn't get to Fourth, he doesn't get to the shopping areas, he doesn't get to the handicap spots, he doesn't get to the residential areas that are having issues with parking violations. So the police department supports the position, and because it will allow us to utilize our officers more efficiently. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I speak for a moment on that issue?
Sir, audience participation will be here after bed. Okay.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no problem, you can. But
It's only my second time over here.
that's all right, here in just a little bit you can, okay? No problem.
Who's next?
I'm almost done.
He's still his floor right now.
So,
Get this over with.
truer words. So, over the past few weeks, we've had a frustrating situation for at least a couple of our residents related to our sewer utilities and sewer department specifically. We've had a couple, a homeowner, renter, both who have had significant sewage backed up in their homes. First time that I've experienced this, well, not personally experienced this situation, but first time I've been aware of the situation since I've been with the city. It's something that we obviously immediately sent to our insurance carrier, who essentially informed us that the standard for such a claim is negligence, and then after investigation, that the city, as far as our insurance carrier is concerned, was not negligent in the behavior that caused the backup. That being said, it's a very frustrating situation, and Utility Director Johnson and I have been talking about it. It's something that happens, by my understanding, very rarely, and that doesn't mean that when it does happen to somebody, it's not incredibly impactful and disruptive and expensive. And so we're just looking into that topic. We don't have any resolutions. Our insurance company's positions still stand, but I just want to make council aware that we've had this issue recently, and it's on the radar. My last couple things is I'm getting a lot of calls about large item pickup. Our safety and service director is starting on Monday. I don't want to implement any new plans without him being a part of the process. So within the coming weeks, you can expect an announcement on large item pickup. And with that, I'll conclude my report.
Thank you, Mayor Feeney. Next, report from our auditor, Ms. Spetnagel. Do you have anything?
Sure, I just want to report that the Chillicothe taxpayers will have a little bit of extra time each day to file their tax returns before the April 18th deadline. Income Department will remain open from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. beginning Monday, April the 11th through Monday, April the 18th. Our office is currently working with J.L. Urig and Associates on the annual gap conversion that will eventually lead to the state audit, which is an annual audit that gets done. And that concludes our report.
Thank you very much. And our law director, Ms. Rutherford.
Thank you, President Arnold. Just briefly, want to let council know that the 2016 Sunshine Hand Law books are going to be in our office soon, so if that's something that you'd be interested in getting, just drop us an email or whatever and let us know to reserve a copy for you. That's also something that we should probably put on our radar, is to see if there's any sunshine law training, as y'all are supposed to do it in your 2-year term, and that's a little tough to get that done in those 2 years. So I'll be looking for that, and if anybody else sees something, make sure you bring it to my attention. I'd like to speak in support of item 9 on the agenda, and that is the appropriation of $2,500 related to the Chillicothe Municipal Drug Court. Those of you that saw today's paper saw that the approval's been given from the Supreme Court. My office is part of their advisory committee, and we're set to start taking applications this coming Friday. So we're hoping that it will be a positive thing for the community. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, the only thing that I have to report is kind of an update on Mr. Fawson. He is home recovering and still is going to be off for several weeks. We're thankful to have Mr. Schofield here to fill in for John's position. So I do want everybody to know that he's doing well and will be back with us hopefully fairly soon. We excused him last meeting. I think we need to do that every meeting, or is he excused for the term of his illness, I think. That's the only thing I have. At this time, we do have audience participation. Some of you have signed a sign-in sheet. I will start down the sign-in sheet first. When your name's called, just step forward to the microphone. Council Rule 21 does limit each speaker to 5 minutes and or 15 minutes total for whatever the subject matter would be. When you get close to your 5 minutes, I'll put my finger up and wave it at you to tell you got a minute left and give you enough time to wrap up your presentation. And anybody that wants to speak after we go through the sign-in sheets, more than welcome to, but we do need your name and your address. The people that signed in, you do not have to give your address, we already have it on the sheet. First person I have on the sheet here is Nancy Myers, if you'd like to speak.
I'll just keep it pretty brief. I was here at the last meeting. So I really wanted to find out if the people on 4th Street were like-minded with me about the meters out in front of our homes. Easy, Nick. Hang on a second. He's on a roll tonight. So I thought I would circulate a petition requesting the City Council consider removing the meters altogether. And my goal was really to go out and find out who thought like I did or unlike I did. And I decided if I went up and down the street and people were like, you need to shut up, stay in your house, and we like the meters, then that's exactly what I plan to do. But I was pleasantly surprised that most of the homeowners on the street agree with me. We would like the meters to be removed completely. We're not interested in passes. We just really want those ugly things out in front of our homes. So I have 31 signatures from people on 4th Street that have meters in front of our homes. And I would like to just submit that to council this evening.
It's fine, we'll accept that.
And that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jen. Second person on the list is Robert Austin.
Good evening. I live also on 4th Street. Really back to talk again. Last time I spoke was 7 or 8 years ago. We had meters, and I really don't understand why they're needed on 4th Street. We have lots of parking. There's no parking problem or issue that I know of. About the only problem we've had with parking is the meters themselves. They're a problem for my friends to pay for when they visit. They forget, they get fined. It's just an annoyance. No other residential area in town has them. There's no business parking on there. Almost strictly residential, a couple of lawyer offices, but really no parking issue at all there. If the incentive is for revenue for the city, little parking there anyway, not a benefit to your doing that. It really penalizes people that live on that street. They're trying to encourage people to live and work downtown and shop downtown. It's just an impediment and a problem for us. So putting meters on that street, I think, would fix a problem that doesn't exist. And I'd like to ask you to remove the posts as well. They're ugly. They're unsightly on that street. It's a nice historical street, and it's just incompatible with the way the street looks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next person on the sign-in sheet is Barbara Tillett.
My name is Barbara Tillett, and I happen to be one of the residents that Mayor Fee was talking about that happens to have a sewer backup, and I have an extreme one that I'd like to talk to you about. And I'm here tonight to ask the City of Chillicothe and the City Utilities Department to accept the total responsibility for the damages and the contamination of my home with Category 3 raw sewage. This happened on February 19th, and I can assure you that it was through no fault of my own. I've lived on Simon Lane for almost 9 years, and I purchased the home after my husband passed away. I renovated it totally in 2014. The first thing I did was have Noble Plumbing come in and review the entire sewer system. I never wanted to have raw sewage in my home. I had two choices to make. I could leave the clay tiles out in the yard and periodically have them cleaned through to the sewer manhole that's out in front of my driveway, or I could replace them all with pipe that I was assured that tree roots could not get into, and that it would be safe in my home and I would not have sewer backup. I even went so far as to have 5 feet inside of my lower level jackhammered up so that they could get under the foundation with a 10-foot pipe and stretch it under the foundation so there would not be any crack in a pipe at my foundation line. I did everything a homeowner could do at $10,000 expense to myself to assure that I would never have sewer water in my home. And I was thinking my own sewer water. Never in my life did I dream that within 1 year of completing the entire renovation, moving into the home and actually furnishing my lower level, that I would be faced with hundreds of gallons of water of contaminated raw sewage. This is the worst category. It contains everything imaginable that we don't even want to think of. And I assure everyone present tonight, you never want to have to go through this in your home. My home was totally contaminated. Not, because my furnace was on. I was gone, and when I returned home to find this situation, my furnace had been fanning this stuff up through the pipes of my home. It's a health hazard, and not only that, but I'm 6 weeks into it, and almost $20,000 in the hole. Now, I'm sure none of you have $20,000 laying around in your home that you want to use to pay for something that was through no fault of your own. I had to take the money out of my retirement account and pay for everything myself because I was told the city had no coverage for liability. They only have neglect. And I was told that in the city's mind, they did not neglect because no one had reported any slowage or problem with the sewer. Unfortunately for me, the first time I knew anything about a backup was when it backed up into my home. And as it turns out, the backup wasn't even the manhole out in front of my driveway, it was the one halfway up the street. Now, I do have a problem with them saying that there was no neglect. These lines were reviewed in the 1990s, and I found out myself that when they came in the 90s and they had some problems, they took out some of the clay tiles, but not all of the clay tiles. So Simon Lane, on the area where my manhole is and the one that was clogged up, has sections, because I saw it with the city camera, has sections of pipe, and then it has sections of clay tile. You're very, very vulnerable when you have the clay tiles and you have big trees. So anyway, to make a long story short, my home's been contaminated. I've spent almost $20,000. The renovation is almost complete. It has not been refurnished. I lost many personal items that cannot be replaced, but I have actually done a lot of the work myself, and the $20,000 plus my estimated $6,000 more to furnish is a very low estimate because I went out and tried to get everything the best price that I possibly could, or it would have been well over $30,000. And I do not think that it's fair of the city to expect a resident to pay for that themselves, or to even pay for it while the city argues. If we have no liability for the city of Chillicothe, shame on us. We should have liability insurance. We should not have to fuss with an insurance company that does not want to pay. This was a total backup of the city sewer system, and I'm hurrying. The report says that the city main was blocked west of my home, probably about maybe 100 yards, and that they had to come in and clean it out. The sewage that was in my home was not my own sewage. It came from everywhere, and it came at me. I had to have someone come and pump it out, and I really am seriously disappointed to be here tonight and to have to argue this point again. I have already placed the claim through the utilities department. I've already discussed it with Mayor Finney's office. I understand the situation that the city says they have no money, but let's be real. I don't have $25,000 to spend that I should not have spent either. I'm trying to be a responsible senior, manage my retirement money so that the government never has to take care of me. So I would really appreciate it if the city gives this their immediate attention. It's not funny. And I'm not insurable with my insurance company. They've denied me because guess what? I've already had a claim for this particular issue. So that leaves me vulnerable again if the city doesn't do more diligence to come back when they fix something, to come back at a periodic thing and make sure that those lines are cleaned out. That's what they didn't do, and I can tell you that they must have known they were vulnerable with the clay pipes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person on the list is Bob Bettman.
Good evening. Bob Etlin's the name. I'm a member of the Downtown Development Commission, and I'm also the chair of the Parking Committee under the Downtown Commission. We made a proposal, which you have now in second reading, to hire a full-time parking enforcer and to increase the parking violation rates. The parking committee and the members represent a kind of diverse group of people. We have people we have property owners, we have county government, we have city government, and we have business owners. So it's kind of a diverse group, so we can cover all areas as we're discussing parking issues. Before we made the recommendation of proposal 1, there was many hours of discussion. We looked at financial data from the past when we did have a parking enforcer. We looked at studies that the engineering department did early last year. We looked at, we talked to Downtown Associates, and then of course again, many hours of discussion. Finally, we came up with proposal 1, phase 1 for our proposal. We are looking at a lot of different proposals down the road, a phase 2, a phase 3, a phase 4, a phase 5. As we work into this issue and as the town begins to grow and develop and we recognize other problems. This is the first one we know of. We know it's a problem. Everyone's identified. Lack of enforcement is a problem. So there's some key points I'd like for you guys to keep in mind as you're reviewing and deciding whether to approve or disapprove. By approving, you will support all the existing businesses. We know businesses downtown have had problems. We've had some go out of business because customers just could not get in to their shops. We've had some that refuse to rent downtown because we don't have a parking program. It'll support the known new businesses that we know are coming to town. There are 3 right now, 1 on 2nd Street and 2 on the south end of Payne Street. And it supports, believe it or not, this supports other areas of the downtown, the residential areas, outside of the downtown area. This person will be able to go out and look at fire lanes, look at handicap parking areas, look at residential areas where we hear that cars are parking on the sidewalks. So it does more than just downtown. And it really supports the development activity downtown. As the group within the Downtown Development Commission are working with outside people to try to get development downtown, one of the key questions they ask is, what is your parking program? What's going on? I see all these cars here. Are they here all day or are they just moving in and out? That has been a problem for the development people. And it reestablishes a long-term program that we've had for probably since the 40s or 30s of parking enforcement. It was done away with under the Salzer administration due to budget problems, but has never been brought back. This does not affect, thank you. This does not affect the safety budget. This comes out of general budget, and as we've looked at that, this should more than pay for the fines, should more than pay the cost of the program. I only have 30 seconds left. The final thing, I know there's some issues with 4th Street. I read the paper last time we had a council meeting. I've heard the comments tonight. Please keep that as a separate issue. That has nothing, in my mind, to do with the proposal we submitted. We can certainly take a look at that. We'll be glad to work with council. We'll be glad to work with the neighbors to try to resolve that issue. But it's not critical what you've done right now. There'll be time. It takes time to hire this person, get them on the street. We have tons of maintenance to do on the meters before they can be activated again. So it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow for the 4th Street people. I appreciate your support. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Great. Next person on the list is Courtney Lewis.
name is Courtney Lewis, and I own a shop on West 2nd Street, close to Payne Street, called Totem Supply Company. I opened my shop in November of 2013. Since then, I've helped open a downtown market next door to me, as well as helping other downtown businesses with my branding and marketing background. I'm also vice president of the Mighty Children's Museum, which is a nonprofit I helped found that is bringing a children's museum to Chillicothe. The location of our space will be on the corner of 4th Street and Paint Street, behind where the old Rennett's restaurant was, Adina Theater kind of area. We plan to be open by next year. I'm also an active Chillicothe Downtown Associates member, as well as on the chamber. Needless to say, I'm very active, involved in downtown Chillicothe. I have lots of blood, sweat, and tears. When I planned to open my shop, I fell in love with the space on 2nd Street and knew that is where it had to be. I had a lot of concerned friends telling me that it wouldn't be as successful there. You're off the main drag, no one goes on 2nd, the parking is horrible there. I, being an optimist to a fault, listened to their advice but wanted to really prove them wrong. Parking can't be that bad. If anyone comes in complaining, I gladly point them towards the free parking lots that beside the Elks, as well as the lot on the Water and Paint. I've gone as far as drawing maps out for people, because we've had people that have come in and said, I've been wanting to come to your shop, but I've not been able to. It works somewhat, but then I began to notice outside people who work downtown would park in front of my shop and stay there until after 5 p.m. The same car would be sitting outside for days. We would ask, once being involved in this parking committee, we'd ask for getting some sort of enforcement going, just getting these cars moving. We weren't getting any answers. Then we lost 2 of the downtown public parking lots to city administration and then to the private parking. So we're now down to 2 public lots for people. The parking committee finally went to the police department last year to get some help. We now have a part-time officer who walks the downtown shopping tires as long as he doesn't have court duty or a nuisance call. We don't need to be taking the officers from their work. Downtown Chillicothe is growing. With the finishing of the Carlisle, more shops are popping up, restaurants and shops along 2nd. We're getting a new coffee cafe. They'll be opening on Paint as well, in front of Paint and 4th. The Madison on Paint is reopening. Downtown is coming alive. We need to be on top of this parking situation. We need an enforcer that can then collect the data, report back to the council of what areas are getting more traffic, which areas might need longer times to park, possibly might need areas that might need shorter times to park. We need an enforcer to follow up with tickets, to process them, and make sure that they're being paid in an appropriate time. This parking committee was formed because parking is a problem downtown, otherwise why would there be a committee? While other issues can be brought up and discussed on whether areas need parking meters or anything along those lines, and one issue that is tonight is that we're getting consistent enforcement downtown.
Thank you. Next person on the list is Randy Davies.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Randy Davies, President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. I walked down the 22 steps from my flat today to pick up this report on my desk, or on the shelf beside my desk, that was written June the 5th, 2007. It's the Chillicothe Downtown Economic Enhancement Strategy. And there are many things in this that specifically discuss items in our downtown. Again, this was written almost 10 years ago. Many of the things that we've been talking about, you've been hearing this evening, is in this report. And again, almost 10 years ago. I'd like to read from Article 6, item number 9, just a couple of highlighted items. Downtown parking is an issue that has been long discussed in Chillicothe, whether a real or perceived issue. Parking must be addressed as one element of the overall downtown enhancement strategy. The city should enforce on-street parking time limits. The city should institute an escalating fine system that is aimed at penalizing repeat parking violators, including those downtown business owners and their employees, and those who come down to visit the shops in the downtown area. The city should maximize the number of on-street spaces that could be created by the downtown by, 1, identifying any additional streets that can accommodate angled parking. Many of the things that have been discussed in this survey nearly 10 years ago, some have been created and done already. Many of them have not. What we would like to do tonight is to encourage you to support the legislation that has been proposed by the Downtown Parking Commission. We agree with their studies and also recognize that the study that was done by your city engineer and folks a year ago, December, and then enhancing with the enforcement, did see movement in our downtown areas with parking spaces becoming open and shop owners able to see customers come and go. So we do support that and ask that you continue to support that as well. There are other items that's in this report that addresses many of the other issues, including 4th Street. I would like to share some of this with you at another time and again open this. This is from the Hyatt Palma study that again was done in 2007. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next person on the list is Donna Stevens.
I may just sit right here.
I think we can hear you.
We can hear you. I don't know whether they can on the television. That's okay. You can do it.
I'll do it.
It's all right.
Huge fan, so.
I know. You don't have to get up.
It's all right, I'll take it out of your hide.
If nobody knows, she's a relative. She used to babysit.
Well, anyway, on with the evening. I am a volunteer coordinator for the Railroad Museum. We have 25 volunteers working a 3-hour shift, 10 to 1, and another 1 to 4. We have two volunteers on oxygen, and the balance of the volunteers are mostly elderly and unable to walk any distance. Would it be possible for the city to remove the 15-minute parking sign and put up 2, possibly 3 signs saying caboose volunteers or visitors only, May the 15th through October the 15th. This would allow parking for the volunteers, and when not changing volunteers, it would allow a designated spot or 2 for visitors. This is not a perfect solution, but it's the best idea I can come up with at the present time. Our volunteers are great, and I sure would like to make it as easy on them as possible when they're donating their time. We had 1,683 visitors last season, and I feel it is worth to keep the cabooses open from May 15th through October the 15th. I feel the need to explain our situation since council will be talking about parking and enforcement at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Appreciate it. That's everybody that was on the list, but as I said, anybody that would still like to speak is welcome to. Just, if you would, walk up to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and please, you're welcome to speak. Anybody?
I beat you. Hi, appreciate the work you do. I'm from a family of public servants. 58 West 4th Street, Terry Tutt. Have a couple things I want to bring up. First of all, my basement has back flooded with city sewage twice, and I've only been there since 2014. First time we did pay a plumber, and they recommended Roto-Rooter, and after we paid that, they said, it's the city. So they knew the city people to come, and they came, and they invited me out to look in the manhole. God knows why I wanted to do that, but I did. I looked in the manhole, and there are like wipes. That's what they say backs up. So down at the corner of 4th and Paint Street, they brought the big truck in, flushed it out. Second time it happened, it rained 3 days. We knew to go in the basement and look. Sure enough, starting back in again, and we knew who to call this time. Within 20 minutes, probably, the city people were there and flushed it out. But it does happen. I just think it's not reported
About
very
once a
much.
month.
Yeah. So they told me maybe I have the lowest basement. I'm not sure. My husband and I lived at 458 West 4th Street. We lived on the hill behind the Star, and we wanted to invest in the downtown. We found this house that Cure Realty had listed, and in May of 2014, we moved in. Love it. I'm a proud 4th Streeter. Not happy about the parking meter. Rumor, that kind of went through, and now I know it's not a rumor. When we toured the house, we were told by the Cure Realtor, these are not operational, you don't have anything to worry about. So 2 years ago I moved in, and wow, that was a great selling point. My half of the street that I live on is from the alley to Walnut. There are usually 5 cars parked there, occasionally 6. There's probably 20 meters, 15 to 20. it's residential people. There's just the church and all residential people on my half. I'm just, I know we're all 4th Streeters, but I cannot see charging us. My husband in a wheelchair, we've had a Dina wound care every other day for a month. Do we want to charge them to come in and tend him? I don't think so. I think you're putting a burden on us, the citizens, the homeowners that live there. So, my councilman, good Lord, I'm going to ask you to please consider 4th Street. I wanted to invest in this area, this historical area, and proud to be there. And I don't think we need to tax, go ahead and tax us with the meters all the time. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, I can't get up there, I'm in a wheelchair.
That's
I'm
fine.
her husband, Jeff Tutt, 58. And I think if you go ahead with that, and you're trying to bring business and you're trying to make money for the city, I have no problem with that. I don't think any resident on 4th Street should have to pay for a pass, a parking pass, or anything else. What you should do, if you want to enforce them, that's up to you. But you should give every homeowner on those streets a free pass. Not one of us should ever have to pay 1 red cent. I don't think, Mr. Mayor, you'd like it if they put a meter in front of your house and they told you to come down and pay 50, 60 bucks or whatever it is for a pass. It wouldn't fly. So it shouldn't fly for us.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sir? What's your name?
My name is Nick Counts. I'm on 46 Westport. And I've got an apartment building down there. And it's only like walking distance from here. But I have some tenants that they're veterans, and I have people come and check on them from time to time, and they might be there for 15, 20 minutes at a time, and I don't need the people that come and check on my tenants occasionally to suddenly get a ticket, or if one of my cousins or something that never comes to visit me stops by, I don't need them to get a ticket either. It's just not, I don't think it's right. It's all residential, all the way down the street. There's like there's about 3 lawyers' offices on the street. It's residential. I don't see any meters on 2nd Street or Payne Street. It's just not right. You can leave the meters up, but leave them non-functional as a deterrent, in my opinion. Okay, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good evening, I'm Tom White, and I come to you tonight as chairman of the Downtown Development Commission, which you guys formed, or council formed.
What's your address, Tom?
My home address is 1822 Norman Hill Road, Frankfurt.
That's all I need.
Okay. When you formed us back in 2014, and I applaud you for doing that, part of our purpose, part of our charge was to try and make this a more investor-friendly downtown, and that investing friendliness is from people that are interested in buying buildings, renovating them, and also shop owners that are willing to come to our community and set up a business, and then also residents that are interested in coming. So informing us, and part of the purpose and part of the charge was to facilitate this, to try and keep the momentum going and the collaborative effort that has gotten us this far renovating our downtown, specifically the Carlisle building, which we all know would have never happened if it wasn't a private sector, public sector effort on our part. So we want to continue that momentum. So the Downtown Development Commission is 11 appointees that go beyond politics. So the terms, they're appointed by the mayor in accordance with the ordinance. So what we also did initially is set up committees. So we did a survey. What are some of the inhibitors to the revitalization of our downtown? What are some of the enhancements? How can we address some of these? Well, one of the first issues that we've heard for years was the parking issue. We know that that was foundational. We know that if the parking issues aren't addressed, investors aren't going to want to come to the downtown. You've heard from a number of people tonight that have set up businesses that are concerned about the parking issues. So in forming a committee, and our role is to try and survey the community, try and find out what the wants and needs are, what the expectations are, and then we set up a committee that does the research on that, and then that committee then brings it to the full commission. We pass that report or that request of our parking committee, and then that's sent to the mayor, who then the mayor decides whether that's a council issue or it's an administrative issue that they can handle. So in the case of the parking commission, or our parking committee, they came up with 6 different things that they looked at. Well, let me back up too, and I know our engineer, Tom Day, did a survey. So there was a lot of input into perspective on parking issues and so forth. But his study pretty much indicated that currently we don't necessarily have a parking issue. It's a utilization issue. So there are areas that are 100% occupied. And most of those areas are in the heart of our downtown and right in front of many of the shops. There are other parking spaces that are underutilized and less than 50% usage on some of those, particularly during the day. So number one on that request out of our parking commission, our committee, was to have enforcement. As you heard tonight, I was just bringing it back. It was enforcement was, when they brought it back, people saw it, and they saw the effects of it. And it was relatively inexpensive, and it was very effective when they first came out. And I'll also share with you that we heard nothing but good feedback, in most cases, from the way Randy handled it. Because he was very user-friendly and used discretion. He didn't just go put tickets on vehicles. Many times he went into the shops and said, hey, you guys know that we're enforcing this. It's a 2-hour parking limitation and so on and so forth. So we got a lot of positive feedback on that enforcement. And of course, it really resolved a lot of the issues of people parking all day in front of shops. And, so I just wanted to be able to present to you. You've heard all the facts. I won't repeat that. On how the downtown associates feel about it, the downtown merchants feel about it, and we as a downtown development commission feel about it. So, I don't know if there's any questions, but I just wanted to let you know that as a downtown development commission, it's come out of our committee, we've endorsed it, and then passed it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for audience participation? Okay. Not seeing that. Move to old business. Anybody have old business they'd like to discuss? Yes.
Mr. Arnold, at this time, I would like to request executive session to discuss pending litigation as well as proposed personnel actions, please.
Okay. We will, I have a request for executive session, seconded by Mr. Clay. Roll call on the motion to move to executive session.
Martin?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florino?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Chapman?
This time we'll move to executive session and go back as soon as we finish. It's currently 9:06. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session by Mrs. Gray, seconded by Mr. Florino? Roll call on the motion to come out of executive session.
Martin?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florino?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Chapman?
Okay, we're officially out of executive session. Okay, we're still on old business. Does anybody else have any old business they'd like to bring up? Not seeing any. The next is petitions and correspondence received by the clerk. Mr. Schofield?
Mr. Trevor, we received a letter from the Chillicothe Downtown Associates. In summary, it says they would like to submit a letter to show their support for the efforts to hire permanent full-time parking enforcer of Chillicothe. And we received an invitation to attend the Sojourners Care Network Open House on April the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. New business, anybody? Okay, not seeing any new business. Committee assignments and meeting dates. I have a few meeting dates. There is a special land bank committee meeting next Monday, April the 4th at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. Human Services Committee meeting will be Wednesday, March the 30th at 4 p.m. at the first floor conference room across the street in the administration building.
Mr. President?
Yes.
That's Human Resources.
Human Resources.
Human
I'm
Resources.
sorry, not
That's okay.
services. Wednesday, March 30th at 4 p.m. In the first floor conference room. And Safety Services will be meeting Wednesday, March the 30th at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. We've had quite a few assignments since our last meeting. To Parks and Recreation, request for legislation to appropriate $100,200 for park and recreation capital to purchase various items needed to fund projects. To Parks and Rec, a request for legislation to appropriate $51,500 for repairs to the stone bridge at the City Park Lake. Part of that money is coming in from donations from the city run. Some of the money was appropriated last year in the capital budget, and we will need an additional $16,500 to actually finish the project. Request for preliminary legislation to commit to involvement with the intersection improvement of Piley's Lane, and that's on our legislation tonight. Request for legislation to accept and appropriate $508 to repair damages to a light at the entrance of the park. Legislation to approve the public right-of-way and easements to approve for the approval of the public right-of-way and easements at Guernsey Crossing, now that all the final plat has been approved by the Planning Commission. Request for legislation authorizing a community workforce agreement. Request for legislation to establish the pay scale for part-time seasonal employees in the Park and Rec, swimming pool, service, engineering, administration, and utility departments. Request for legislation to accept the replacement pages of the Walter Drain codified ordinances. That's in tonight's legislation. Request for legislation to appropriate funds for use in the commencement of the Chillicothe Municipal Drug Court. Request for legislation to accept $3,000 from the bully prevention program and appropriate to the Chillicothe Police Department for purchase of educational materials. And request for a committee to review and update the city's current indigent burial process and liabilities. Now, from there, we move on to legislation. And whenever you're ready, Mr. Schofield, item number 1, please.
An ordinance appropriating $25,000 to be used for capital purchases specifically related to ODOT auctions and other auctions of service vehicles and service equipment. Third reading.
Roll call on that ordinance, please.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Item number 2, please.
An ordinance appropriating funds for roof replacement at the water treatment plant, dome inspection, and bid plans and specs for recoating and repairing 2 elevated tanks and 2 reservoirs and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Roll call on that ordinance, please.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
And that ordinance is passed. Item number 3.
An ordinance approving the hiring of a full-time parking enforcer and appropriating $60,000 to cover the cost of salary and fringes. Second reading.
Moving on to item number 4.
An ordinance amending section 353.10 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chillicothe. Second reading.
And item number 5.
An ordinance establishing 45 miles per hour as a prima facie speed limit on a specific section of Western Avenue, US Route 50. Second reading.
Item number 6.
An ordinance providing for no parking designation in the area of 300 East Second within the city of Chillicothe, Ohio. Second reading.
Item number 7.
An ordinance providing for an agreement between the city of Chillicothe, Ohio and the Ross County Commissioners, whereby the city of Chillicothe, Ohio will continue to be eligible for state reimbursement of costs incurred in sworn counsel for indigent criminal defendants and declaring emergency. Second reading.
Item number 8.
An ordinance authorizing a change in traffic direction for the alley that parallels and is north of Clay Street on the south side of Tiffin School from one-way to two-way and declaring emergency. First reading.
Number 9.
An ordinance appropriating $2,500 for costs related to the commencement of the Chillicothe Municipal Drug Court and declaring emergency. First reading.
Mr. Florina.
For the reasons stated in my report, and to expedite the beginning of this municipal drug court for fiscal year 2016, I make a motion to waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mrs. Gray. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
And that waiving the 3-read rule motion is passed. Now roll call on the ordinance, please.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Item number 10.
An ordinance consenting to the proposal submitted by the Ohio Department of Transportation for the project at Flowers Lane on US 50 and declaring emergency. First reading.
Mr. Tapman.
As I discussed in my comments from the engineering committee, I would like to request that we waive the 3-read rule, pass this tonight.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mr. Carty. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
We've waived the 3-read rule. Now roll call on the ordinance, please.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Okay. And item number 11.
An ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Chillicothe codified ordinances and declaring emergency. First reading.
Mr. Kroll.
At this time, I'd ask that we please waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mrs. Patrick. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule, please.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
We've waived the 3-read rule. Roll call on the ordinance, please.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
And that ordinance is passed. That concludes our legislation this evening. Do I have a motion to adjournment from Mr. Clay, seconded by Mr. Florina. Roll call on adjournment.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
And we are adjourned.